Hello, and welcome to Career Bytes, a podcast and video series where I bring the best resources, guidance, and real life advice to help you ace your career and ace your life. If you are a job seeker and are looking to pivot in your career, tune into these episodes or leverage articles on our website at careeracers.com, where we offer tips, tricks, and tools to ace your career journey. I'm your host, Jay Polaki, and I'm excited to have with us today Dr. Karen Laosher, who is an award-winning industrial organizational psychologist and who's passionate about connecting challenge and compassion, insights and intuition, and faith and fearlessness into the design of talent-based solutions for individuals and organizations. Welcome to Career Bytes, Megan. I'm so happy to have you today on the show.
Thank you, Jay. It's an honor to be here.
So, Megan, I'm going to begin by asking you the same dreaded interview question. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Jay, thank you so much. I'm eager to get to know your listeners and share a little bit about myself. Like you said, my name is Karen Laosher. I am an industrial psychologist. I've had a lot of great steps along my career journey. I started off in external consulting, focusing on assessment testing. Then I had a nearly decade time with Macy's Inc., doing all kinds of great work in their assessment, survey, and overall people science space. Then I joined a healthcare organization, Bon Secours Mercy Health, as a part of their talent team. And now I am the Chief Solution Strategist for Talent Plus, which is an amazing organization that is all about strengths-based identification and development of your people. We know that everybody has talent, and we want to make sure that people know their talents, and really that organizations can identify it and leverage it and just be wildly successful with that talent-based approach. So that's kind of my career journey, and I am coming to you from my home in Northern Kentucky. I live 6 blocks from downtown Cincinnati, Ohio, which is kind of fun from a geography standpoint. I can walk to football games and concerts, and it's an interstate walk. So I love where I live and just excited to be part of your show today.
Wonderful. I love that piece of geographic, history and location. That's awesome that you can, you straddle between 2 states and you can move across borders so easily. Awesome. Well, Megan, as you know, and possibly have experienced, searching for a new job is one of the most exhausting and stressful things one can do in life. And when one is on the job hunt, mindset is everything, I would think, especially in these times. So what's one piece of advice you have for folks who are looking for a new position virtually in the midst of this pandemic?
Well, as we think about the pandemic and the type of advice I would give, I would say to be ready, be comfortable, and be confident in talking about yourself. And that seems like such a simple thing, but know what makes you great. Have feedback in front of you, whether it's I don't know, maybe you got feedback from a performance appraisal, or you've gone through some assessments in your career, or maybe you got to experience a 360 feedback tool. There are so many types of opportunities where we as individuals in organizations get feedback, whether it's formal or informal, and pulling that all together and just taking a moment and reading everything before you have a conversation, whether it's a recruiter, a hiring manager, no matter who it is. That can really help you see the patterns of where you shine from your perspective, from others' perspectives. And when we get to speak about where we shine, we light up in a different way. And so knowing your strengths is going to set you up for success in that conversation. It's definitely easier to talk about what we're good at. Obviously, we want to shine, but maybe be humble at the same time. But talking about things we are good at and enjoy really, really helps us light up in a way that we don't when we're talking about other topics, especially our weaknesses, I would guess here. But really just taking that time to say, what have I learned about myself? What have others told me about myself? What are those themes? What are those patterns sit down with yourself for an hour and just say, what is all this collective information telling me? And how do I build that sense of pride in that? Because if I'm talking about something I'm good at, it's something that makes me great, it's something that I enjoy, I'm going to be much more engaging and alive and passionate in those conversations. So that would be my number one advice point.
Wonderful. Great advice. So, as an HR professional, as well as an IO psychologist, how have you been adopting and adapting to all the technology that's out here in our space today? And, how do you think the pandemic has fast forwarded this tech adoption in your current role?
I would love to answer that question, not just for my current role, but I think society as a whole, starting with individuals, the pandemic has put so much ownership on us as people, career ownership, family ownership, safety ownership. The list could go on. And we've been in this time of forced isolation, but so many of us have shared, hey, I have used this time for personal reflection. Quarantine reduced our number of distractions in a number of ways, increased our focus in a number of ways, and in all fairness, did the exact opposite in some moments for all of us, right? But it's helped us really have that understanding of what I like, what I don't like, what feels like a meaningful use of my time versus a waste of time, all those kinds of things. We have so much clarity now in terms of what we want to go after. It's really time for us to own those pieces and really become the CEO of our own careers, thinking kind of in a Peter Drucker state, if you will. But I love tech tools that help individuals get there, no matter what they are. I mean, it could be going to LinkedIn or Insta every day and following somebody that is confident about something that maybe you're not confident about, or gives you tips and tricks on something maybe you're not as strong in. It could be that simple. But I think there's other technology out there, and one that I'd love to talk about that helps individuals really know their strengths and set goals and track them all in the same place. And from our company at Talent Plus, we have a tool called Talent Mind that helps people do that. And there's lots of great tools on the market that have the goal setting piece in there, but we have just so many great decades of scientifically validated assessments, and it has your strengths, your feedback from those assessments, plus the goal setting in the same place. So I love, for me personally, I feel like I've got this one platform, this one home that brings it all together and helps me feel prepared, helps other individuals feel prepared to know what they're good at, identify what goals they want to set, and really pull in those different strengths, pull in those talents to make goals come to life. So that's something, whether it's Talent Mind from my organization, Talent Plus, or any type of tool that helps you know who you are better, identify what you need to do next, and hopefully have some accountability in place to drive you and move you into a place of action. I think that's something that's so foundational from a development and an owning your own development standpoint, as individuals and as leaders, to be able to have that information on themselves and their teams. It's definitely important. And again, it puts the talents and it puts the goals in one place. So I think anything that you find that helps you take action, that helps you move forward, that helps you gain clarity in where you're going next and what you want, I think that is such a huge outcome of the pandemic, because we have been forced to be alone and think a lot. And I really think that's a lot of where the Great Resignation is happening too. People are suddenly realizing, no, this isn't what I want with my life. It's time to do something else. My purpose is something else. Well, that's why I love technology that's all about goal setting and moving forward, because we've all had these moments of clarity and reflection in the pandemic. Let's do something with it. It's a dream as an individual, as an executive coach, as an organizational leader, no matter what, to have that place for our personal growth, to lock it down, to track it, and to hold ourselves accountable and move forward.
Wonderful. And as career professionals, we are in an unprecedented, and I don't like to use that word because it's been used so many times by everyone around,
Right?
but it really it resonates with the times, right? I mean, it is an unprecedented time in every sphere of our lives, and especially in the job search and job interview, sphere. How best do you think we can prepare for a video interview or a Zoom interview or a Skype interview, like it's called these days,
Right.
to showcase our strengths, talk about our challenges in
Mhm.
ways that make us the most attractive and and the top tier candidate for that particular position?
Right. Yeah, that's a great question because some people do Skype and Zoom and Teams and WebEx and those video platforms as a regular part of their job, but a lot of people don't. And I think the folks who do it, like me and Jay, perhaps you, we take it for granted a bit. And so it can be foreign to some people. And we all have our own insecurities too when we're on video. So I think what my piece of advice would be to know what triggers an insecurity for you. Where are you uncomfortable when it comes to a video interview? We all have our things, and then make a determination. Am I going to change that, or am I going to find a way to be comfortable and own it and live with it? So, for example, a friend of mine was getting ready for a video interview and she was asking me for advice, and she just kept saying she felt self-conscious because she has a habit of looking down when she's nervous. And she was worried that it was really that eye contact that wasn't happening as often as maybe she thought it should would make that interviewer feel like she wasn't engaged or all in on the conversation or not passionate or whatever the case may be. She was worried it was going to create a negative perception of her. So I had a conversation with her sort of in a coaching spirit in terms of is this something that you want to just kind of go with and own it? And maybe you just say, hey, I've got some notes in front of me. If I'm looking down, that's why I'm looking down. Or do you want to try to do something to look up more? Do you want to change it? Or do you want to find a way and own it and be comfortable with it? And so she said, well, I don't like that I do that. And, in the job she wanted, she was going to be on more of these conversations. So for her, it was like, okay, this is a habit I want to break now, right? And so we talked about, what are some different options to get you to look up? We talked about where her camera was. Can she raise it? Can she put it in a different position? Can she lift up her laptop? Like from a physicality standpoint, what could she do with that camera that might put her in a better position? Alternately, could she position her notes above the camera so when she looked at her notes, it forced her to look up? Is that a way to help her break it and just really instill that awareness? So I think ultimately it's knowing where and how your insecurities might get triggered in a video interview, and then saying to yourself, am I going to change this? Or am I going to own it and live with it? And then going down that path of what either of those might look like for you.
Wonderful. So, in the same token, how best can new hires prepare themselves for a virtual onboarding experience that creates a lasting connection with their coworkers, with their supervisors, outside of their department? It's very difficult being on site and creating those lasting connections. But now that we're also kind of, I would say, dislocated totally, in this virtual hybrid environment of work, how can we create those lasting connections? What has been your experience this past year, and what's your advice for someone looking to do that?
Jay, I love this question because it all comes down to intentionality. So I joined Talent Plus in August of 2020. And it was this just beautiful opportunity, wonderful company that just kind of fell into my lap. And then I had this moment of like, oh gosh, I'm in Kentucky, they're in Nebraska, I'm going to be permanently remote. I'm forced to onboard virtually. And at that time of August 2020, I had one friend who had taken a new job during the early pandemic. Like it was in the works in March 2020, and she started the job in April 2020. So, I can't even imagine how scary that might have been. But, the advice that she gave me, my one friend who had been through it, was you have to be more intentional in every opportunity that you can. So you have to schedule time to meet people. There's not going to be water cooler moments. There's not going to be running into each other in the bathroom or in the hallway. You have to create moments. Maybe you have a morning coffee with someone new, every other day or 2 times a week. Maybe you literally eat lunch with another coworker. What are natural parts of your day, and how might you intentionally create that with someone else to build a relationship, and not expect that anyone's going to do these kinds of things for you. We are all responsible and own our onboarding to a very, very large degree. So how you meet people, it looks different, but you have to be more intentional. She even went so far as to say that every time she was on a video call, she would wave and reintroduce herself and just be like, "Hey guys, it's me. This is Julie," as a very intentional, thoughtful way for people to get to know what she looked like and remember who she was, because she was joining an organization where, a lot of people knew each other. So even just that little tip, I was like, wow, I would have never have thought of that. She's like, yeah, nobody knows what I look like. And I was like, wow. So just every moment, creating intentionality, making a plan, allocating time, it's very critical. But you need to foster new relationships and get to know people without that face-to-face contact. So you have to really be creative and intentionally, proactively allocate that time.
Absolutely. So that brings us to the question connection segment of our podcast today, where our audience gets to learn a little bit more about you. We're talking about this personal connection so they can connect with you better. So who is one person you've gained in your network over this past year that you think more people should know, especially in the career coaching and career professional development space?
Absolutely. So her name is Amy Grubb, and she has had a 2-decade career with the FBI. She is an industrial psychologist. She has so much experience in all aspects of HR, talent management, culture, leadership, all these kinds of things. And she is a down-to-earth, impressive woman. And she's just great with groups and providing workshops and facilitation. And I just, I get to see her at a conference every year when there's not a pandemic, and we just get so excited when we see each other. She lights up a room. She's a straight shooter. She's, got really great practical tips, and she's got just this great career in human capital management, knowing human behavior. And she's a gem. I'm lucky that she's part of my group of friends, and would love for more people to get to know her.
Wonderful. And we'll link up her profile if she's on LinkedIn or any other social platform in the show notes for our audience.
Wonderful. Thank you, Jay.
Uh-huh. If you listen to podcasts, I'm sure you do, because I think we're all starting to, and you're a guest on this, so you better be. What's your favorite career or work-related podcast or wadcast that you would recommend to our audience?
So I love podcasts. When the pandemic started, I became a runner, just kind of out of nowhere, had never run my entire life, and running is my podcast time. So I just love it, whether it's personal or professional. I love them all. And my favorite career work-related one right now is called Ignite Your Confidence by Karen Laos. And so it's focused on women being more confident in their careers, owning their power, knowing their personal brand, feeling good saying no, because saying no means the yeses are going to be bigger, and all of those great tips. It's all about women supporting women in her podcast, and she's very inspirational. I definitely recommend all listeners out there check her out.
Okay, and we'll link that in the show notes as well. So, any favorite book that you would recommend that's related to career or professional development to our audience?
Absolutely. I actually have it here with me. So the book is called Indistractable. And I apologize, I'm probably going to mess up his name, but it's Mir Yao. And I was actually gifted this book at a future workplace learning event that took place maybe a month before the pandemic. And the author did a virtual presentation with us, and it's all about controlling your attention and owning your life. So think of it in terms of how to focus, but removing the distractions. And the entire book is about methods and tips to help you focus. And as you read the book, like I've lent it out to so many people, but as you read the book, there's some ideas and some tips in there that you're thinking, yeah, that one's not going to work for me. But if you walk away with one or two tips that you're like, oh my gosh, I totally am going to try that, I know that's going to work for me, it's a win. There's one that I got out of here that's using the website FocusMate that allocates 50 minutes of focus time with an accountability partner somewhere around the world on video with you. And it sounds like such an odd thing, but oh my gosh, am I so wildly productive when I know there's someone looking at me. And I got that tip from this book, Indistractable. So again, if there's one thing you can pull out of it that helps you, this book is chock full of these types of tips. And I know I need it in so many different moments. And I just recommend so many people dig into this. It's a great resource.
Thank you. And we'll link that as well as in the show notes.
Wonderful.
Great. And, we're all itching to travel because we can't be indoors anymore. Hopefully we're able to pretty soon. Where is one place that you'd like to travel after this pandemic?
Well, it's really a 3-stop vacation that my friend Lindsay and I planned, booked, paid for, that was supposed to be in May of 2020. And it is a trip that starts in Helsinki, Finland, an overnight boat to St. Petersburg, Russia, 5 days in St. Petersburg, and then we stop in Estonia on the way back before going to Finland. So 3 countries that, I have to be honest, we didn't realize they were that close to each other until we pulled up a map. We had one of those moments where we had to check our atlas, but it's a great trip. We're very excited about it, and we just are really eager for it to actually take place. So we know it's going to be a little while, but it's going to be a great trip when we do it.
I can assure you it will be great. My sister went to medical school in St. Petersburg, and for the past 20 years, I've been itching to go there because she would cross the border into Finland with her classmates to go on a picnic. I mean, they were that close together, right?
Yes, and you don't realize it until you look at a map. And the beauty of the trip is by starting in Finland and having a guide with us, it waives the visa requirements that exist for Russia. So that was one of the big appeals of the trip. So if you've ever wanted to go to Russia, there are ways to do it. And it sounds like in Russia, she got to go to Helsinki for lunch. So
yeah. It was so easy for them to do that. And they had all these white nights, they have, it's always like daylight throughout the whole 24 hours of the day. And so those were experiences that she would share. And, it was always fascinating to hear all that. So I'm excited for you. I wish you all the best. And I hope it happens soon for all of you and your friends.
Thank you so much. We're just really excited to make it happen.
So Megan, I know you love, community and giving back to the community in myriad ways. How do you enjoy giving back to our professional community in your geographic area? You kind of are in 2 states. And so how do you enjoy doing that?
Yeah. So I'd love to answer this from a professional standpoint and a personal standpoint because they're pretty different. And so from a professional standpoint, I do mentor a lot of early career leaders. And so folks I've worked with in my past, students coming out of industrial psychology programs or maybe still in them, being an extra set of eyes on their resume, helping them feel good about an upcoming interview. Those sorts of conversations are things I do very, very regularly. And when you haven't been in the real world yet, that can be a scary adventure to be starting on. So I love those opportunities professionally. And then personally, I actually am part of a prison ministry group, which is unfortunately something that hasn't been going on because of the pandemic and is just starting back up. So I'm very excited about it, but it is going into a maximum security prison that's in the Cincinnati area, and literally just sitting down and having great conversations and little small group circles and just talking about whatever's on their mind, and just giving an opportunity for these men to feel heard and respected and dignified, and they don't often get that in their environment. So it's just kind of human to human, making them feel great, having a intellectual conversation, and we take those kinds of things for granted day to day, and they're such a neglected population. I love being a part of that, and can't wait to get back in when we're allowed.
Wow, that's such a great community service, and so fulfilling too. It sounds, I can see you shine when you talk about it. Yeah, wonderful. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
So you do love coffee, and of course, Cincinnati is for coffee lovers. I assume.
There's a festival. There's a coffee festival here.
Yeah, I thought as much. So, what else do you enjoy doing outside of work? What else is there for us to learn more about you?
Absolutely. So I am a big thrift store, vintage clothing junkie. So I am always about the garage sales, the rummage sales, the Goodwill stores. I love all of that, the flea markets, everything. So love any opportunity to play a little bit with fashion. I am also a big fan of exploring Kentucky and beyond. I love my state, and I love all that it has to offer. I love going to horse racing, and I love going to bourbon distilleries and going to the Bourbon Trail. And so I love local travel, and I love bigger travel once we're back in that place. So that's,
Well,
I think those are my priorities right now.
well, you sound like a woman after my own heart. I love the thrifting piece as well, and the travel. And I do want to come see the Kentucky Derby one day. You know, my cousin used to live there, and I missed the opportunity then, and now because of the pandemic, but hopefully soon I'll be able to come.
Well, you can stay with me. I live an hour and a half. Avoid the hotels. I know how to make it happen.
Okay.
And it's a blast. And shopping for it's fun enough, right? So
Yep. Yeah, I want my nice top hat with the feathers and the boa.
Yes, very important. You got to buy the hat first, and then you can figure out the rest of the outfit.
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you again, Megan. This has been such a joyful and fulfilling, conversation for me. I've learned a lot, and I hope my audience has learned a lot as well. How best can they reach you and connect with you online? Is LinkedIn the best way, or is there any other platform you'd like them to connect with?
I would definitely say LinkedIn is the best place for me.
Okay.
So I'll share my information with you so you can include it in the show notes for our listeners.
Absolutely. Thank you so much again. I look forward to, having more such conversations and taking our relationship forward into the future, professionally, personally. So thank you again, Megan, and I really appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Jay. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And audience, take care, and we'll see you in the next episode. Bye-bye.
Bye.